I can't breathe. Those were some of the last words Eric Garner spoke before his death while being arrested by New York City police. They've sparked national outrage and helped to fuel the Black Lives Matter movement. The police officer at the center of the case is now facing an administrative hearing. And as Amna Nawaz reports, the outcome is not expected to call for significant penalties.
Judy, that's right. Well, in July of 2014, police detained Eric Garner on suspicion of selling untaxed single cigarettes on the street. During that encounter, Officer Daniel Pantaleo is accused of using an unauthorized chokehold. The moment was captured on cell phone video. Take a look.
Don't touch me, please. Came over. Not touch me. Stop. Give your hand, buddy. Put your hand behind you. I can't breathe.
Eric Garner, who had asthma, died as a result of that encounter. In a column earlier this week, Jim Dwyer of the New York Times reports many in the neighborhood where Garner died believe his death won't lead to real change or lasting consequences with the police. He's been following the ongoing hearing, and he joins me now. Jim Dwyer, welcome to the NewsHour. Very briefly, if you can, just lay out for us, what is it that both sides are arguing in this hearing?
Well, it's an administrative hearing in the police department's own trial room, so they conduct disciplinary hearings there. And Officer Pantaleo, who is the arresting officer, and a sergeant who oversaw him, are charged in Pantaleo's case with using a chokehold recklessly and causing his death, Eric Garner's death, as a result of that. And the sergeant is accused of failing to oversee him. The defense is saying Eric Garner was a very sick man. He had asthma, hypertension, weighed almost 400 pounds, and his death was a result of essentially incidental contact that triggered this very ill man's fatal asthma attack.
So it's an administrative hearing. It's not a criminal proceeding. What is the most serious consequence that could come for Officer Pantaleo as a result of this?
Well, it's what the police department can do to him, which is fire him, and and the penalty. I think that's the top penalty. They may also cause him, as part of that penalty, to forfeit any accumulated vacation or sick time that he has, or it could go all the way down to a few days suspension or a loss of vacation time, or if he's not found guilty, he, will go back to work.
So there could be no consequence as a result of this. Is that right?
Well, if he's not found guilty, sure.
So the hearing, we should note, is the first time that the public has really been able to hear any key parts or accounts around Mr. Garner's death and the process that followed it. Over the last 5 days, what new things have we learned from the hearing?
A couple things. One is that the city medical examiner found out the injuries on Mr. Garner's neck, on the tissue inside of it, showed that there had been a chokehold. There was injuries to 4 layers, according to the medical examiner, and they showed some photographs of that. And it was this that triggered Garner's asthma attack that caused his death. That was one thing that came out. Another thing that came out just today was very interesting, that when Mr. Garner was in the ambulance and either dead or very near death, the officer's partner took it on himself to write up the arrest form charging Mr. Garner with the felony sale and distribution of untaxed, unlicensed cigarettes. Now, he claimed that Garner had 10,000 cigarettes. In fact, Garner, as the officer admitted today, only had 5 packs of cigarettes with him. So there was an effort, apparently from this testimony, to dress up the story to make Garner seem to have been doing something more serious than selling a few individual cigarettes.
There was also a text message exchange that was revealed in which one of the lower-ranking officers was communicating with a higher supervisor, and that supervisor wrote back to him to say, not a big deal, when referring to Eric Garner potentially dying as a result of that encounter. How did that go over in the hearing?
Well, people were shocked when particularly the Garner family members and friends who were there. And it was a startling statement. The officer, the lieutenant, or through his representatives, his union representatives, said that he was merely trying to comfort his subordinates who were upset about this. But in a way, the lieutenant was actually right. It has not been a big deal. We're 5 years on. There's been no criminal charges brought against anyone involved in this terrible event. There was a state grand jury in Staten Island. They voted not to charge anyone. The federal grand jury sitting in Brooklyn with civil rights prosecutors from Washington involved, they have not yet released anything, but at this point, it's quite unlikely as the statute of limitations runs out on the 5th anniversary of the crime, of the death, July 17th of this summer.
Jim, you've been talking to people in that neighborhood 5 years on now. This one video, this one encounter sparked a national movement. It sparked national attention to an issue that had been long going on in terms of law enforcement and how they can sometimes mistreat people in poor and minority neighborhoods. The Black Lives Matter movement was sparked as a result of this. What do you think the impact will be if there is no consequence as a result of this hearing?
I think people were already very upset when it came out that the local grand jury, the state grand jury, wasn't going to charge him. And actually, there were some significant protests in the streets of New York when that happened about 2 years ago or so. And I expect that if the board here, the trial board, decides that anyone was guilty or not guilty, the reaction is going to be almost perhaps a shrug of the shoulders, because
you're saying this is something
really,
people don't expect much of at all, something we'll have to follow. The trial has been delayed. It will pick up again soon. But Jim Dwyer of the New York Times, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much for your time.
Sure thing.